Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli waj'al li waziran min ahli Haruna akhi ushdud bihi azri washriku fi amri kay nusabbihaka kaseera wa nazkuraka kaseera innaka kunta bina basira wala hawla wala quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. All right, welcome friends. We will continue with our discussion from the 15th ray, page 642 in the book. This was a sermon that the author gave in Damascus. So part of his sermon was mentioning 2 points. One point was the believers are more concerned with the life of this world. So he was making a point, and let me see where that verse was. Yeah, in the first one, he said, man's emotions sometimes overtake him. Okay, I don't know if my audio quality is good or not. Something is going on with my device right now.
It's fine, we can hear you.
So they deem lovable the life of this world, which is from Quran section 14, verse 3. And the author was going through his imagination by looking at the animal kingdom, which he started off, and how without the guidance of the Quran, without the message, without any meaning, how everything in his imagination, he was seeing that it looks like a terrible situation and he was crying, as he said, tears of complaint and sorrow into tears were turned by the message. When he saw that there are meaningful things going on, everything completely turned upside down. Otherwise, meaninglessness just destroys the human being. Everything, when there is no purpose in existence, it is a very horrible situation. So then he went on to the world of the earth, which we are going to go over. So everything he was mentioning in his imagination, he made a point that the hell and the paradise can be seen in the life of this world as well. So certainly in belief is a sort of paradise in this world too, and in misguidance, a sort of hell. So through our imagination, we can imagine what it is like when there is no owner of this world, what it would feel like if I don't have any owner or any Lord who's taking care of me. Then everything is just going to randomness, chance. I don't know if I will be something they call it luck or no luck, because everything is just Wild West kind of scenario. All right, so then we'll continue. Then the world of the earth appeared. So he's, I guess in his imagination, he's looking at the world of the earth. On that journey of the imagination, the dark hypothetical rules of the philosophy, which does not obey religion, depicted a ghastly world. Voyaging through space on the ship of the aged earth. So this earth, We can see that as a ship that we are traveling on, voyaging through space on the ship of the aged Earth, and Earth continuously changing, which travels 70 times faster than a cannonball, a distance of 25,000 years in 1 year. Ever disposed to break up, its interior in a state of upheaval. The situation of wretched humankind appeared to me in a desolate darkness. My eyes darkened. I flung the spectacles of philosophy to the ground, smashing them. Then I looked with a view illumined with the wisdom of the Quran and belief. So smashing the view of philosophy, I looked with the view of the Quran, wisdom of the Quran and belief. And I saw the names of Creator of the heavens and earth, all-powerful, all-knowing, Sustainer, Allah, Sustainer of the heavens and earth, Subjugator of the sun and moon, had risen like suns in the signs of mercy, grandeur, and dominicality. They lit up that dark, desolate, and terrifying world, so that the globe appeared to my eye of belief as a well-ordered, subjugated, pleasant, and safe ship, or aeroplane, or train. It contained everyone's provision. It contained everyone's provisions and had been decked out for trade and enjoyment. And to carry beings with spirits through the dominical realms around the sun. I exclaimed, all praise be to God, to the number of particles of the earth, for the bounty of belief. So the whole viewpoint, the whole perspective changes with belief on how we see the world around us in this sense. So the spectacles of philosophy, oops, I don't know what's going on with this. Yeah, the spectacles of philosophy kind of destroy the possibility of happiness in this world. It is like very dark and desolate because everything points to the death as the end of the human existence, human life. And that's the seriousness that they kind of portray and fulfill, whereas the Quran kind of brings that there is someone who is taking care of everything. The owner, the one who knows, who sustains the heavens and the earth, under whom everything is following his will, his order, in a very perfect, balanced, harmonious way. And I saw Faria's hand up. So Faria, do you still have something to say?
I just was wondering about what caught my attention was the second sentence of the second paragraph, which says, on the journey of the imagination, I'm not sure where is it. It said something about philosophy and how, yeah. So the dark hypothetical rules of the philosophy, which does not obey religion, depicted a ghastly world. The hypothetical rules of the philosophy, which does not obey religion. I mean, it's just I mean, I've been introduced to some literature on philosophy thus far, and it seems that everyone out there is looking to find the truth, and some have interesting way about going on, but then concluding an absolute source of existence, I feel, gets shunned away because then we don't know what to do with it. And so my question here was, how does one attain to belief? And the reason I asked this question is because in the previous paragraph, it's mentioned as if that I get enlightened only through belief, so which can only be attained through assimilating a speech of God within me. And so I was just wondering, how does one attain to belief then? It seems that it's only through, and the reason I use the word assimilating is really, first I need to question also, really, does God speak? Okay, if so, then how so? And so, yeah, I was just throwing it out there. But I felt that it was very interesting. Philosophy does not obeying religion, as in, because I wouldn't know what to do if I do conclude the absolute truth. So, hey, either I'm not saying reject it or just go on following other views out there, meshing it in with, but just wanted to see what people have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Would anybody like to share what Faria has shared in terms of, okay, God speaks, of course, in the universe. When you look at the universe, we look at ourselves, yes, we can just look at the material side, or we can look at the spiritual, meaningful side of the things. When we start looking at material, definitely we don't see any speech. There's nothing that's there. That's why the materialist philosophers are always at a loss in that way. But if we start looking at the meaningful side of it, which is, or the angelic side of the universe, or the malakut side of the universe, we see that someone is speaking through that meaning, somebody has put in meaning in there that is communicating with me. And then the whole universe starts kind of speaking to me and becoming more familiar to me. Otherwise, everything seems like an enemy. I don't know what's going to happen. It's a desperate, negative kind of environment. Whereas once you start seeing the meaning, everything starts becoming starts to make sense, becomes more friendly in a way. And of course, all the meaning points, as he says, the names of the creator of the heavens and earth, all powerful, art, knowledge, sustainer. Somebody is taking care of the things. And that happens when I start looking at the meaning and the existence of that meaning from the existential perspective rather than just the superficial material perspective. Would anybody else have any comment or say in this? Brother Ali, please go ahead.
A general appraisal of the text that we are reading, the text is presented as a sermon. Sermon means somebody is really speaking to believers. Now, the subject of this text is not really comparing how we arrive belief or not arrive belief, but comparing them. if you believe, what happens? If you don't believe, what happens? If you believe that, as you said, Asim, there is a meaningful side of this universe, and try to see the meaningful side. Don't close your eyes to it. Then the meaning will definitely refer that the universe has an absolute creator. So absolute creator, everything is created by him intentionally, consciously. He is trying to teach us something. So we say, if I don't accept this, so I have to imagine that this universe has no meaning, something are going on in very amazing and also threatening things are going on here in this universe. But luckily, we are on Earth safely living now. But this is just a result of luck, when we cannot trust luck forever. So we know that luck may not happen anytime because it doesn't have a conscious controller. The text is doing this, but what I started thinking that today we started the paragraph, then the word of the earth appeared. Now he will compare how do we see the word through the perspective of the philosophy, it means, and the materialist understanding of the word, and looking at the matter only, and how it would appear in you through believing that it has a conscious creator. But one thing is very practical. We have to remember that belief is discussed here always in terms of spiritual experience, belief and unbelief. It never referred to material side of our world, which means when I believe in God, everything in my life, practical worldly life, will go smoothly, satisfactorily. No. If you really have belief in your mind and heart, then you will entertain the pleasure of belief within your spiritual world. Feelings, not necessarily physical one. This is very important because we see that lots of calamities happen to believers and also individual believers. Look, I believe in God. I expect him to help me in my worldly life, have a good success in my profession, have a good family in my life. No, belief doesn't guarantee that. On the contrary, it is God's justice that gives the punishment of our neglects. And if we don't act according to our belief, the material warning, which is called mercy, compassion of God, material warning given to us, but still, although I didn't practice my belief in my worldly life, so I preferred material side of benefits, but I keep my belief in, still belief gives me pleasure, but my physical world is created in such a way that God is warning me on a temporary base. Your worldly life will not be successful. But he doesn't do to the materialist people because they deny God and they are in hell, whereas, as the prophet tells us and gives us the news, this word is for the believers is hell or dungeon. And for the unbelievers, it is paradise for them materially, but spiritually they are experiencing unbearable pain. They must be. by definition, they must be, although they may hide it. But so God doesn't warn them materially. God warns them by giving spiritual pain so that they will give up unbelief. And then we'll start practicing what belief necessitates. On the believer's side, the process is, yes, I am really believing and satisfied in the meaningful existence, and I enjoy my life, but falling into how do you say, worldly concerns, neglect, then God only gives me material warning. Doesn't give the material warning for unbelievers. But if there is a material warning happened on to unbelievers, it doesn't mean that God is warning them in their spiritual life. No, spiritual life is in pain. So we have to be very careful. For example, if I have $1,000 and give zakat $10, if somebody has $100, he gives $5 zakat. Example. And the owner of the $1,000 cannot say that, look, I gave you more than you do. I'm better. No, because he has received a lot. That is why God says in the Quran, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَيَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are thankful, speaking to believers, I will increase it. If you are not thankful and become worldly concerned and worldly centered, then I will reduce it. It means you will not benefit from your worldly life, worldly gains, and I will take it out. I mean, depending on the proportion of God's wisdom, we don't know. But that is the principle of God. So if we don't appreciate the value of belief and just ignore its necessity, then we will be warned materially. That is a good sign. Why? Alhamdulillah, I am not left for my crime because of denial in the hereafter. Where in the hereafter? In the hereafter, it will be a permanent torture or pain. It is very important that we have to be thankful when God really warns us in material terms. For example, I want my worldly life in a better position. I give the preference to it, priority to it. Then we may not be successful because we are believers, or inshallah we are believers, but for the believers, they may not be successful always. But materialist people, denying people, will be successful regardless of their disbelief, because their disbelief causes them spiritual pain. Believers' belief causes them spiritual happiness, pleasure. So on the spiritual side, belief equals pleasure, denial equals pain. On the material side, belief equals to, if it is ignored, material punishment. Disbelievers are not materially punished. So when disbeliever has $1,000, he benefits from it materially equal to $1,000. If a believer has $1,000 and doesn't give zakat necessary amount, then he will be benefiting from $1,000 only $90. No, $900. Why? God will warn him, you are doing something against your belief. Watch out. This is mercy of God. So we have to understand that the comparisons are made here at spiritual level, not material level. So someone may say, they look, what happened recently, all the people call calamities to Muslim countries. You see, God is punishing them. No, God is proving that they are believers. But mercifully, compassionately, God is warning believers in giving some sort of non-satisfaction, some sort of damage to, according to the expectations of the believers, less, so that they will take less pleasure in this world. That is how this hadith should be understood. In the material side of the world, this world is a dungeon for believers if they neglect it, or they may not neglect, but warning, just warning, showing that if you do this, this is the result. In this world materially. And also this world is a paradise for unbelievers because they don't need any warning materially. They are given pain spiritually so that they will give up belief and then start having pleasure in their spiritual life. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. Anybody else would like to share anything?
I'm not hearing Asim if you are speaking.
Oh, do you not hear me still?
Now we hear.
How about now?
Good, I hear it well.
Okay. Adam, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. This is a really interesting point. I don't think I fully understood it. And I know, Brother Ali, always benefit much from these points. And you spoke a lot. I just want to make sure I understood what you're saying, because I think the last thing you said wasn't clear to me. In the material side of this world, the world is a dungeon for the believer. This world is a paradise for the unbelievers. You're saying that the believers are not prioritized or not exceeded in their material life, given excessively, in order for them to preserve their spiritual life. Whereas
I didn't say it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I didn't mean it, Adam. Yeah, I didn't mean that. The believers will suffer materially. No, this is the description of the prophetic message. We have to be very careful. Prophetic message is mostly directed to our spiritual world, because the message is not for material purposes and only. So when they speak, we have to listen to when the prophets speak, all the prophets speak, we have to listen to them from spiritual perspective. It means calling us what materially cannot, calling us to an understanding that within the material side of this world, we cannot really benefit, or we cannot find the answer. So speaking from the material, spiritual side, prophet is saying, your warnings, your punishment in this world will be in material level, not spiritual level. So taking the position of the prophethood is not the mission that will teach us how to make money and how to be rich, how to have a luxurious life. So we have to listen to the prophet. He must be speaking from spiritual perspective. So he says, your material life will be the source of your hell. It means punishment in this world on temporary base. For material side, for the unbelievers, their punishment will be in spiritual side. In material side, if they don't believe in God, they must indulge in material world and get more and more. And God says, yeah, you can have it, but you will never have satisfaction in your spiritual life because of your money. The more property you have, the more problems you have. That is your spiritual pain. Although materially you are being really flourishing in or perspective in your life. So the comparison from prophetic perspective, he's speaking your punishment of hell for your mistakes will be materially, and for punishment of paradise for their mistakes will be spiritually. It means they will be deprived of spiritual pleasure of paradise in their life. But in their practical material life, they will enjoy paradise on a temporary base. So anything happens to the believer here materially is punishment of believers' penalty at material temporary. It is mercy of God for the believers. I hope this subject is not confusing because the way I present it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That gives a good clarification. So I think it's pretty clear now. The messenger, peace be upon him, salam, he is speaking about the spiritual side. And this narration is emphasizing about where the suffering comes or punishment comes to the believer. It doesn't come in their spiritual side. As you said, I mean, I don't have to repeat it. So I think you made it clear. It's good understanding. Interesting understanding.
Thank you, because usually what I hear about, like they say about the prophet, he was a businessman, so go get into business, make more money. So it made me laugh a little bit, because we never see like the spiritual side as a spiritual teacher giving us purpose and meaning in life, rather than, okay, I mean, it seems odd, if you'll be teaching us business and encouraging us to get into making money. That's not a prophet for us then. There are too many experts here that would do that in this world.
I have a question with what Brotherly shared. So pretty much if, as a believer, one is not up to par with their spiritual life, then to set things in order, the creator of the universe will set up the stage in such a way that the believer will be experiencing a material punishment, which should bring, I'm just trying to understand, which would bring them back into their spirituality. So, and pretty much what was presented is like, and if one is an unbeliever, then because the punishment is already within their spiritual side, they're experiencing it here. Just wanted to make sure that I got this correct, because I was thinking also along the lines of how everything is connected with the physical world here. So pretty much your spiritual health sort of dictates how you approach things, how you approach the material world. So if your spiritual health dictates how you approach the real world, then it's a win-win situation in both cases, shouldn't it? I'm just wondering, for one to be a believer.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. Can you repeat the question again?
So, as a believer, if one focuses on their spiritual health first and foremost, that dictates the approach that they take towards the material world. And so if that is the case, it seems to be a win-win situation. One better get into the, the meter of the believing side, because it puts them at least in a good spiritual health, as opposed to unbelief. The spiritual health is just totally destroyed or shunned away with just cheating oneself. Sorry, somebody's speaking.
May I make a comment on what you're saying, Fareha?
Yep.
So I understand that a person who is a believer of bettering themselves to the standard that the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam set for us, the focus on becoming a spiritual in the being would actually cause you to have such qualities that when you venture out into the business world, you have attractive and desirable traits to people with whom you deal. And so from what I comprehend and how I understand it, is that by focusing on spiritual health and spiritual well-being, it does complement and compensate for your capacity to financially benefit and materially benefit, therefore. So yeah, that's what I understood from the question you were asking. Like, that's kind of what I would lean towards as the answer, or as a comment in regards to that. I'm sure Brother Ali can give a far more detailed comment regarding that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It makes sense.
Thank you.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So would anybody have any comment still, or we can move on? Because I think the idea was about the Prophet ﷺ being like a teacher to us for humanity, for human side, to be a real human being, have a purpose in existence. Of course, the material side is pretty much like gaining and prosperity. I don't think is the point over there. So even if it's given or it's not given, it's not the point, I would think. Basically, the idea is not so that, I mean, warnings would be given if our whole life is paid attention to our material side maybe, or trying to make being prosperous financially, then there's warnings in the material maybe that is given. That's how I took it.
May I just make a comment on what you're saying, Asim?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so I do agree with what you're saying, and I think it shouldn't be misinterpreted that a person who desires to follow the path and actions of the Prophet should intend to do so for the benefit of material wealth. However, I do believe very strongly that inevitably, by being a person who puts in the effort to be a better man, according to, or a better human being, sorry, to be more specific, they actually accumulate such qualities that are capable of allowing them to experience the best of dunya and the best of akhirah. And so I think that's a very overarching dua that Allah has given us in the Quran, because we're asking for the hasana of dunya and of the akhirah, and to be protected from the fire. So in the sense that a person can be, like, for example, materially, let's say, focused, then it doesn't necessitate that they're doing things properly. However, we can't judge that person. But I think personally, yeah, you want to try and build yourself in your character as a human being, to emulate the Prophet in the best way that you can. And we can see from his early life before he got Nabuwah that just by him being the individual that he was trusted by his community, and that trustworthiness built opportunities for him. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to say that it's something we should be aiming for material value only, because to my mind that would be in opposition of the point of becoming a better human being. Thank you.
I would like to simply put it. The Prophet speaks about hell and paradise from the prophetic perspective, which means not the worldly life, but akhirah, the next life, related to it. So the hell and paradise are places of reward. Whatever we do here, it is the result. If I deny, the result will be hell. If I confirm the truth, the result will be paradise. That is the criterion now we are going to use. Now, if a believer, while being a believer, doesn't act according to his belief and gives priority to the word, his hell punishment, his punishment equals hell, will be in this world materially. And
can you repeat that again? I'm sorry. If a believer, I lost the train of thought. So I understand that part you were mentioning about hell and paradise. That's how the prophetic message speaks. Hell is total denial. Paradise is confirming the truth. But then you were saying something, if you can please.
No. Prophetic message aiming at teaching us the reality of this world, which is a preparation place for the hereafter. So in the hereafter, paradise is the representative of reward. Hell is the representative of deserving punishment. So when he says the word is a hell for believers, it means their punishment will be in this world, materially. That is why believers, because whoever believes in the truth, God, then he won't be in hell anyways in the next creation. So his hell, his punishment will be in this world. But this worldly punishment is a mercy. saying, reminding the believers, your worldly life will be not according to your expectation, just the other way around, so that you will understand you are not acting according to your belief. For the unbelievers, their reward is hell. In the hell, spiritually they are experiencing the hell, and their world will be their paradise. It means they won't receive any material punishment in this world. As if it is a paradise for them, temporarily. So their pleasure is temporary. Unbelievers' pleasure is temporary. Believers' punishment is temporary, but believers' pleasure is permanent. Unbelievers' result of unbelief, punishment punishment will be permanent. So belief deserves permanent paradise. Unbelief deserves permanent hell. How about this world? It is the reverse. Unbelievers will be living in paradise here. Believers, if they neglect their belief, their world will be turned into their hell. It means they will be deprived of it. So that God is showing his mercy by giving the believers temporary warning as a result of his mercy. I hope it is clear. Sorry, that is enough from me. I started repeating myself.
Oh, thank you, Brother Ali. So here's the thing. You know how Nursi mentions divine slap being a mercy, and we experience, if one is a believer, they experience it here. Would that be equivalent to a divine slap with what you mentioned about the prophetic message on saying that this universe is hell for the believer and paradise for the unbeliever? In that context, would it be fair to say this would be equivalent to a divine slap for the believer?
Divine slap, do you mean?
Yes.
Punishment.
Yes, divine slap. Yeah, you know how Nursi mentions, I think in the flash is like a few, he mentioned some personal stories. And then he says, oh, so-and-so, was given a divine slap. And same thing, I think 2 weeks ago, you did mention something about, you're giving an example about how 2 kids came to Nursi, they were sick, and they're like, hey, can you pray for us? And he said something like, no. Like you sort of need this illness, as in it's a mercy. So just to recognize your reality. So this is how I'm like interpreting everything that has been shared thus far. And if so, then yeah, that makes sense. Just this is how we, I guess, learn in this universe. Going back to a teacher and student analogy. So
yeah, I think it is clear now. Divine slap for the believers will be on the worldly case. For the unbelievers, divine slap will be eternal in the hereafter. I think this hadith must be understood correctly, inshallah. I found that it is very interesting to understand this treatment. Lots of things go on in the Muslim world, and everybody says, look, God is favoring the unbelievers in terms of temporary worldly life. And God is punishing the believers. Yes, they neglect. If they neglect their belief, for example, belief requires eternal happiness. If I really take belief as the source of material happiness as well, God says, no, I'm not going to give you. You are misdirecting the purpose of belief. So believers are deprived from material benefits if they neglect acting according to the requirements of belief. Inshallah, it is very clear to me. It is a very important and practical matter. Inshallah, everybody must take his share from this understanding. Myself, I have to be very careful. Inshallah.
Thank you. It makes sense. I was wondering also, how are we defining material benefit? Because one can argue, hey, we interact in the universe through materiality, physicality of things. Like the universe is serving us. But I think if I'm negligent, just like you used the word negligent, if I'm being negligent with my responsibility of, acknowledging the source of my existence, then I'll be faced with a divine slap. That's how I understood it, inshallah. Otherwise, I think business as usual, being aware and acknowledging the source of your existence, and hey, this universe is here to benefit more so our spiritual side, because which goes into the existential side of our being.
Thank you. Any other comment? Okay, we can continue. So this has been proved with many comparisons in the risale-i, which is the work of this author, that those who follow vice and misguidance suffer a hellish torment in this world too. So that's pretty much what we mentioned as well. Those who follow vice and misguidance suffer a hellish torment in this world too, while through the manifestations of belief, the believers and righteous may taste through the stomachs of Islam and humanity the pleasures of paradise. May taste through the stomachs of Islam and humanity the pleasures of paradise. They may benefit according to the degree of their belief. So benefit according to the degree of their belief. But in these stormy times, currents which numb the senses and scatter man's attention on peripheral matters, plunging him into them, have deadened his senses and bewildered him. As a result of this, the people of misguidance are temporarily unable to feel their torment, while the people of guidance are overwhelmed by heedlessness and cannot truly appreciate its pleasures. It's interesting how the author is sharing this. The people of misguidance are temporarily unable to feel their torment, so they keep faking it, enjoying this worldly life, ignoring their human consciousness, things, while the people of guidance themselves in many other things than what the reality of the human being is supposed to be, and cannot really appreciate the pleasures in this world. All right. Before we go to the second condition, anything in this paragraph anybody would like to say? Yeah, I think this is still relevant in this current era that we're living in. Because how many things this civilization has put us into where we are, our attention goes in many directions, many things, all basically not really for our purpose in existence. But yeah, go ahead.
What does the last sentence mean? Wait, as a result of this, the people of misguidance are temporarily unable to feel their torment. Okay, that makes sense with what we discussed thus far. While the people of guidance are overwhelmed by heedlessness. Okay, that's very practical, and cannot truly appreciate its pleasure. What is its? What does that mean? And cannot truly appreciate its pleasures. Yeah, what's the last?
So this, yeah, I would think the universe's pleasures, like basically the meaning behind it, what the universe signifies, the signs, the pleasures of paradise in this world. So once, as kind of Brother Ali mentioned, if we are neglectful in what our purpose in existence is, how, then of course we are going to be heedless and thus cannot appreciate the pleasures of paradise in this world. Make sense?
It depends on our degree of belief. Depends on how our degree of belief, we will enjoy it if we follow. And of course, if I really overwhelmed by heedlessness, ignore it, of course, I cannot take that much pleasure as it should be from my belief. So its pleasures, I understood, beliefs pleasures. That's what I understood. It is beliefs pleasure. It means paradistic, whatever it is, pleasure. Less, proportionately. Yeah, according to the degree of their belief. Yes, exactly. That's what I understood.
So pretty much I face the consequence of my heedlessness, which is a punishment in material sense here. Can we say that? Again, connecting it back to the saying of the prophet we shared earlier, that this being overwhelmed by heedlessness would be similar to experiencing punishment in a material sense. Because I'm still a little bit caught up with the punishment in the material sense part, but inshallah, let me think more and it should make sense. But just wondering about this.
No, the punishment is temporary on the material side. But this last paragraph we read, I believe, talks about spiritual experience, both sides, for believers and non-believers, disbelievers. Believers will benefit from their, will get pleasure from their belief as much as they are certain about it, as much as they are not negligent about it, heedless. They are not heedless about it. That is why this, I understood this paragraph is talking about only spiritual experience. The previous, not the previous paragraph, but even the last week we read last sentence actually, in belief, last sentence here, yeah, that's it. In belief, a sort of paradise in this world, not worldly life, material benefit, no, spiritual paradise while I am in this world before I die, and is in misguidance a sort of hell. They will be experiencing a sort of hell in this world while I'm not in this world is misleading. while I have not died yet. But as I was mentioning about the punishment, the hadith is misunderstood usually. That is why I was sensitive about it. Punishment side is on the material world for believers, on the spiritual side for punishment for disbelievers. Punishment when it is neglected. God doesn't punish believers because of their belief, because of the negligence in their belief. But they get pleasure less. That is something else. But as a warning, as a result, their share will be practiced in this world materially, but spiritual satisfaction is still there.
Thank you. That makes sense. And now that the sentence is highlighted, because it says in belief is a sort of paradise in this world too. It means that, hey, the spiritual satisfaction comes first, and then which would extend out to this world. And then it's interesting also that you mentioned the levels of belief. So I was wondering, here's my question. Should a believer, and we're just disregarding the levels of belief, should a believer be concerned about this world? I mean, wait, let me maybe think about it and we can work on this. Yeah, thank you. That's a good reminder. We live here until that. Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, I think this is it for today.
Alhamdulillah, I think we can stop here for today. Inshallah, next time we'll continue with the second awesome condition of this age. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma alamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati surat al-Fatiha.